Hi everyone, welcome to Edu-Astro. Now we have already discussed the natural lordships of the planets and why every planet is assigned as a lord or has the portfolio of a particular house or different houses. We also discussed that Sun and Moon as planets or grahas have the lordships of two houses, that means one house each, and all the other planets and grahas they have the lordships of two houses each. The north node and the south node, that's Rahu and Ketu, they co-lord one house each, right? Depending upon the qualities they carry and what are they meant for, right? What are their inherent qualities? Now, there is another concept. This concept is like, say, for example, if you have the power of position A, which is in the northern area, and that position has been given to you because you are fantastic in agriculture and that area is full of agricultural land. Thus you have been given the lordship or the portfolio of that particular area because you will be able to handle it very well. However, at the same time, you might be fantastic, also fantastic in different subjects like, say, geography or a history or chemistry or something like that. And say, for example, the eastern area of the region has the dominance of chemical factories, chemical things, and all that stuff. Now, anybody who is going to take a decision in the eastern area, the portfolio would be handled by the person who is already having a very high caliber in chemistry. However, would always take suggestions from you because you are also an expert, right? This is how the natural significations of the planets are decided, and thus each house in the horoscope also is governed by different planets, not only the lords, and these are called the natural significators or the karakatvas of the planets. This is also a very important part in while doing astrology or reading the horoscope. You have to remember the significators and the karakatvas. That is what we are going to cover in today's video. So planets and their natural significant, and how does that play in the horoscope? This is the horoscope which we have already discussed. These are the 12 houses. We have already discussed this. You can watch the previous videos. You'll get a much more better clarity. And these are the planets or the grahas in our Vedic astrology system, which we have already discussed in the previous videos. You can watch that video for greater clarity. Now, for the first house, we had seen that Mars is the lord of the first house. Why? We have discussed in that video. The significator of the first house becomes Sun, because Sun represents your soul and ego. We have discussed that the first house is you, yourself, your brain, and your own vitality. So obviously, Sun holds the power to give you the power over there. Sun becomes the significator. So when you are looking at any event related to the first house or your life or your body or your physical health, not only will you look at the first house Lord, but also you will look at Sun. That will give you a better answer. Second house, Jupiter. We had discussed the second house is the wealth house, which is ruled by Venus. However, at the same time, we had also discussed that the second house represents wealth and second house also represents learnings. Jupiter is the significator of wisdom, higher knowledge, and learnings. So if you have a blessed Jupiter, looking at the second house and giving its, in a good position in the chart, the natural significations of learning at your earliest stages in life will be very good. So you need to look at Jupiter too when you're looking at the second house matters. And Jupiter is also, by the way, a karaka or significator for wealth and gold. Third house, Mars, becomes a significator. Why? Third house is the house of not only your siblings and neighborhoods and neighbors, but it is also the house of your effort, where you do something, you put in some effort to do something, to get something to fructification. Now, if you have a Mars there, then it makes more sense, because Mars will give you the energy. We had discussed that Mars is the planet for high energy, focus, necessity. It will give you the focus, it will give you the logic to do things. Thus, Mars becomes the significator for the third house, shares the portfolio. Fourth house. Now look at fourth house. There are four of them: Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Four significators. Why? Look at the importance of the fourth house. It's very important, because fourth house is not only your home, your bandhu, your relatives, your moon, but it is also your movable and immovable property. It is your joint family. It is also the place where you live, right? So, moon is the significator of the nourishment given by the mother and the relatives. Mercury is the significator of intelligence and skills, which we did. Now, fourth house is the house of primary education. When you go into primary, pre-primary, those type of things, the early education in your life, formal education. If Mercury is not a significator, then it will be very difficult for you to get that. Venus is the significator of movable property, cars, vehicles, and everything. And Mars is the significator of immovable property. So, fourth house, having all these requirements, need four significators. Right. Fifth house, Jupiter, becomes the significator of fifth house. Why? Because fifth house is the house of, as we said, Putra, son, progeny. That's the main thing. And Jupiter is the Karak or the significator for kids. Thus, Jupiter gets this, and also with higher learning, knowledge, wisdom, and the learnings which you gather, if you use in a much better way, then obviously you will supposedly be more happy in life, right? The real happiness comes from there. Thus, Jupiter becomes a significant. Sixth house, the house of hard work, Mars and Saturn. Obviously, you will require two hard planets out there so that you can do some real good hard work, your daily routine, your work which you want to accomplish, and defeat your enemies. We had discussed that sixth house is the house of Ari, enemies. Right? And Mars gives you the force, Saturn gives you the hard work and your actions, karma. So thus Mars and Saturn become the significator of sixth house. Now take a look at the seventh house, Venus. Now Venus is the lord of seventh house, and Venus is the significator of the seventh house also, because Venus signifies your spouse, obviously, your partners, obviously. It signifies your refinement, luxury, the relationships, the professional and personal relationships. Everything is signified by Venus, and it signifies grace. That is all required in the seventh house. Thus, Venus can handle it. Eighth house, Saturn. Eighth house, we said, is we learned is the house of longevity, Randhar, right? House of transformation. Mars and Ketu were ruling the eighth house naturally. Now, why is Saturn the significator? Because Saturn is hard work, and Saturn is the karka for or judge, the only judge in the entire nine planets. And Saturn is also the karka for longevity. Here, whatever actions which you will take to transform yourself, it will require a lot of hard work, supported by Saturn. And that is what gives the Saturn the power to handle this house. Ninth house, Sun. Sun becomes the significator. Now, we had spoken about ninth house is the house of dharma, religion, righteousness, guru, and father. See, these are the father and guru are the two main people in life who are going to teach you the correct things, the right things, which is required for your dharma, what you think, what you do. And the guru can take you to through the religious path to where you need to go in terms of spiritual uplift. That's why Sun, who represents these, your father, your inner soul, becomes very important as a significator over here. See, Sun is the planet because of which entire life in solar system is. So Sun represents father, and thus Sun becomes very important for the ninth house. 10th house, again, there are four significators. 10th house is the house of honor, prestige. Now, Sun represents government, honor, all these things. So it's a significator. Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn, why are they there? See, Saturn is the hard work, right? You require that to get your honor and prestige. And the Lord of the house is also Saturn. Mercury, you will require communication. You will require intelligence and skills to get things through and work done so that you get that honor, prestige, and the karma which you have to do, you do it intelligently. Why Jupiter? With all these things, you will require the wisdom, the higher knowledge, which you have gained from the ninth house, so that you can do the correct karma or the actual actions which is required to take you to your either destiny or the path you have chosen. Thus, these four become very important in the 10th house. 11th house, Jupiter becomes a significator again. Why? The 11th house we have spoken about, it's the house of gains, love, right? Social networking and regular income. All. Jupiter is the significator for money, wealth, wisdom, higher knowledge, yes, gold. Most important, Jupiter is the significator of happiness. It is the most benevolent planet, right? And it is the biggest. So it blesses you with a lot of good things. So Jupiter alone can grant you all these things, which is required in the 11th house, and thus becomes the significator of the 11th house. Then you have 12th house, Saturn. Now, why Saturn? The 12th house we had said is the house of expenditure, where expenditure not only in terms of the wealth, but expenditure in terms of anything which you have gained needs to be either distributed to people for people's welfare. Wealth needs to go off. Only then you can go ahead in the spiritual upliftment of yourself. So, Saturn is the only planet which can help you do this because Saturn is the ultimate judge. However, Saturn at the same time is a planet which will ensure that it also denotes poverty and pain and stress and all that stuff. The reason is very simple. Saturn can teach you how to live with minimalistic things, and can also teach you that if you need to go ahead, then how to leave things behind. That is the power of Saturn, which is very important for the 12th house planets. Only then you can get the fruitful results of the 12th house for your own emancipation. Thus, Saturn becomes the significator of these houses. Now, I have covered this in a very, very, very short format. This is not the end of it. The thing which I want to emphasize here is that wherein you are looking at the lords of the houses, which we have discussed earlier, the significations of the planets determine where all their portfolios are spread, and their decisions will also matter apart from the lords for any event to happen. So, all in all, this is a very short understanding of the entire concept, which is very big and very deep. If you want to learn more, you can join our courses. If you want to have any specific area deep dived into in terms of consultation, you can contact us. We will be back with another video very soon. Till then, please like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Take care. Bye bye.